Hello, it is I, IARESMART, and today we are counting down the top 10 simps in fiction. That's right, baby, we're doing a top 10 list. So, first we need to explain what a simp is. Now, a simp is, the way I understand it, someone who is so obsessed with another person that they're willing to go to, like, extremes to try and, be noticed by this person, or have this person be with them. Now, the person they're obsessing over may or may not know that they exist. Or, maybe they do, and maybe they just don't care, maybe they are in a relationship, but basically the simp person is obsessed. Maybe they'll put themselves at a lower position than the other person. They're fine with, just kind of like butt-kissing the other person, essentially, I think is a good way to put it. They're kind of just okay. There's different variations of the simp. But essentially, it's someone who wants to really obsessed with someone. For example, as myself, I am very obsessed with Ray and Daisy Ridley, but in a cool way. So today we're going to be counting down the top 10 simps that I've decided. There are quite a few simps in fiction, and I'm going to be going through the ones that I personally know the best, and I've ranked them accordingly. So yeah, that's how this is going to work. Let's get to the first one. So number 10 on our list is Morty Smith from Rick and Morty. Now, Morty obsesses over this girl named Jessica. Now, the thing is, it's pretty interesting, because as the show goes on, he keeps obsessing over this girl, Jessica, and if you're not familiar with the show, Morty is our main character. He's like 14 or whatever. He's a teenager. There's this hot girl at school, he's got red hair and stuff, so Morty obviously has good taste. But he just kind of obsesses over her, always has these fantasies about her and that sort of thing. And as the show goes on, eventually, one day, he thinks he's gonna die, and so he's like, hey, Jessica, I just want to let you know that I really liked you, and I'm sorry we never really worked out. And she was like, oh, well, do you want to, go out sometime? And he's like, wait, what? Okay. And then he, saves himself from dying, which is pretty funny, honestly. So then they go out, and they have this whole thing, and we're like, oh, cool, these characters are finally gonna get together. But then Jessica just gets, trapped for, a couple, thousands of years or something, and then it's quite funny. She, wakes up and is like, sorry, Morty, I've evolved, I've moved on, I'm gonna go try and discover myself, and then she moves on. So it's a pretty funny episode, admittedly. But yeah, Morty, he's a pretty big simp. But he's number 10 on the list because he's not that much of a simp. He kind of moves on. He gets another girlfriend in, the most recent season, I think. And that kind of goes for a bit. But, so he's an alright simp. But that's why he's number 10 on the list. Our number 9 spot goes to Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Now, Shrek, absolutely iconic film. And the main villain in this movie is Lord Farquaad, a guy who is very short. Very funny. Short guy, literally, this tall, right? So this guy, right, looks into a mirror and is like, hey, mirror, mirror on the wall, show me a cute girl. And it's like, all right, here's some cute girls. And he's like, ooh, that Fiona? Yeah, I'm gonna go with her. And so then he sends, all of his, loyal subjects, hey, some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. And so then he sends all these dudes, including Shrek, to go and try and rescue this princess from a tower. So he's willing to sacrifice a lot of lives, just so we can be with this girl, right? And then, Shrek brings her back, and the whole plot of the movie happens. But anyway, eventually he's like, oh, finally, Fiona's here, and then they're gonna get married. And then he immediately finds out, wait, she's an ogre? Screw this, I'm not getting married to her. And then he dies. So yeah, that's the movie. He's a pretty big simp. But again, he's just kind of a jerk, so that's why he's so low on the list. But I thought he was worth mentioning, so that's why he's at the number 9 spot. Next up is Isabella from Phineas and Ferb. Yes, there's a girl on this list. Girls can be simps too. Now, Isabella is quite obsessed with Phineas from Phineas and Ferb. I don't know, I guess she just likes his triangle-shaped head. Anyway, so she always comes over every single day of the summer and says, what you doing? And, then she hangs out with them, and it's great. Phineas and Ferb is just an amazing show. So, Isabella is obsessed with Phineas. And I think there are some episodes where she actually, tries to ask Phineas out and that sort of thing. There's one episode I remember in particular where she writes him a love letter, telling her all of her feelings, and then she's like, oh no, I regret that decision. So the rest of the episode is just her running around trying to stop that letter from getting to Phineas. But yeah, it's pretty funny. So, anyway, the whole point is that Isabella's obsessed with Phineas. However, they do get together. In one of the last episodes of the show, it's called Act Your Age, I believe. She and Phineas actually finally get together. It's like a, fast forward into the future episode. They're like, oh, it's been however many years since the summer where most of the episodes took place. They're all grown up now, they're going off to college, and look at that, they get together. Aw, isn't that sweet? And it's a cool episode, so that's why Isabella gets the number 7 spot. Also cool because I wanted to have a girl character on this list, it's very difficult to find them. Most of the simps in fiction are guys, but Isabella is a rare example, so I thought she was worth putting on this top 10 list. Now the next spot here, number 7, we're going to give to Anakin slash Darth Vader. Now you see this kid, this Anakin kid, right? Little 9-year-old sees a girl for the first time and is like, "Are you an angel?" And she's like, "What?" So, yeah, sure, pretty weird interaction that these two have. Anyway, 10 years later, they're in love, because Anakin's like, "Hey, I just killed an entire population just because I'm in love with you." And Padme's like, "Dang, that's kind of hot." So anyway, they get together, and now they're married. And this all moves very quickly. And he's like, "Ah, crap, I just had a nightmare. I think my wife might die, maybe. Anyway, I'm going to start turning to the dark side and betraying everyone I know in the Jedi Order and go with this Palpatine guy, and then probably betray him too and take over the galaxy, just so that I can make sure my wife doesn't die." And he's like, "Hey, guess what, Padme? I did all this stuff for you." And she's like, "That's kind of messed up." And then she's like, "What the heck? You liked this the last time I killed a bunch of people for you. Why is it different now?" And then he chokes her out, and then she dies. So, yeah. And then he's just depressed for the rest of his life. So, you know, Anakin's got a pretty tragic story, honestly. Yeah, he's a pretty decent simp. Let's just be real here. Yeah. But I wanted to have a Star Wars character on this list, and Anakin, he's a pretty big simp, right? A lot of people don't notice this, but he's quite a simp. He does some pretty crazy stuff just for Padme. So yeah, that's why he's on this list. Next up is Mr. Freeze. Now this is a character from the DC comics, a Batman villain. I mainly only know him from Batman and Robin, which is a pretty bad movie in which a blue Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Mr. Freeze, and it's a weird movie, man. Anyway, but the main consistent thing across every interpretation of Mr. Freeze is that he's a scientist guy trying to save his wife from a disease, and he has to freeze her in carbonite or whatever. He has to freeze her to try and save her life so that he can figure out how to cure her disease before she dies. So he just kind of freezes her in time, and then he just spends the rest of his life freezing everybody. He becomes a villain and starts freezing things because he's evil now. I don't know. It's kind of confusing, and the Batman and Robin version is weird. He has to keep stealing diamonds, and I don't know if that's consistent in every adaptation. I know there are multiple other adaptations like video games and different comic book runs and stuff, and I'm not too familiar with it. Probably should have looked more into it, but he's a pretty big simp. He's willing to freeze an entire city and threaten the lives of entire populations just because he wants to be with his wife. So yeah, pretty big simp if you ask me. Okay, so number 5 on the list, we're about halfway through now, is Titan from Megamind. Yes, this guy. Wow, quite a simp. If you've seen Megamind, you know what I mean. So this guy, right, I can't remember what his original name is, but Titan is like a superhero. And at the beginning of the movie, right, there's this reporter lady, Roxanne, right? And he's like her cameraman, because she's like a news reporter, and he does the camera work. So he's like, there's this one scene where he's like, hey Roxanne, so I'm having this party at my apartment, so you want to come over? There's gonna be a ton of people there, but not too many. It's not gonna be too many people, and actually it's just gonna be us two. But it's just gonna be super chill. We can come over, we can hang out. It's gonna be a great time. And she's like, no thanks. And he's like, dang it. So yeah, and then he's quite upset. Anyway, later in the movie, he gets superpowers. He's like, Roxanne, hey, look at this. I got superpowers now. Yeah, I'm pretty cool. You want to go out with me, right? And she's like, no, this doesn't make a difference. You're still weird. I don't like you. And then he's like, well, time to start killing people. So yeah, then he's our main villain, but it's fine because Megamind has an incredible story, and it's just such a good movie. And so Megamind, our main character, comes back and defeats him, and then he gets with Roxanne because woo. So yeah, Titan's a pretty big simp. He again, if you've seen the movie, you know. Watch Megamind. It's such a good movie, guys. Next up is one you probably weren't expecting, and that is Jay from The Great Gatsby. Now, this guy, quite a simp. Now, The Great Gatsby, it's the great American piece of literature, right? I don't know why it's called that, but it's just that's what they told me to call it in school, so that's what I'm calling it. Anyway, there's also a movie adaptation in which the guy from Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah, he plays Jay Gatsby, so that's pretty cool. And then also Tobey Maguire is in this movie. So again, that alone makes it worth watching because Tobey Maguire plays our main character, Nick Carraway. So anyway, our main character Nick. If you're not familiar with the story of Great Gatsby, you probably don't live in America, because in America we're all forced to read this because it's the great American. I don't know where they get this from. It's a decent book about the 1920s. It's just cool. Anyway, so there's this guy, Jay Gatsby. He started off as like a regular guy, and he met this girl named Daisy. You know, I can relate. I can relate to obsessing over a girl named Daisy. Anyway, so he meets this girl named Daisy, and they fall in love. But then he has to go off to fight in the war, and then Daisy is all sad and depressed, and then she goes off and marries some other rich guy because she's got a type, I guess. Anyway, so then this Jay Gatsby guy comes back from the war, and he's all rich now, and he's like, okay, so instead of like just going over and asking to talk to her like a normal person, I'm gonna start throwing super extravagant parties that cost me millions of dollars every single week at my giant mansion in the hope that maybe she shows up one day. And it's like, bro, just talk to her. And then they have this whole convoluted story where they like fall in love again, and like then they're like they get into a conflict with like Daisy's current husband, and then he's like a bad guy and all that stuff. Anyway, Jay Gatsby dies at the end of it. Sorry to spoil it for you, but yeah, he dies. So anyway, he's a pretty big simp. He's literally like spending millions of dollars on the week just so that he can maybe have a chance to meet her. He maybe isn't the smartest simp, but he's a pretty big simp. So yeah, this guy is pretty crazy. Okay, so now we're going to do some honorable mentions before we get to the top 3, because there are some characters that I don't know very well enough to talk about them and put them on the top 10 list, but I think they're still worth noting because I know they're big simp characters. I just don't personally know them very well. So for example, the first character here is Dipper Pines. I haven't watched Gravity Falls that much. Like, I watched a little bit when it came out, but not enough to know. I know that he obsesses over this redhead girl. Don't remember her name, but that's who he simps for. And I guess he's a pretty big simp because that's when I was researching for the video. It seems like a lot of people are like, yeah, Dipper is a pretty big simp. So again, that's why he's in honorable mentions. Another one is Mordecai from Regular Show. Don't know who he simps for, but he is supposedly a big simp. Again, it's just one I saw a bunch of other people saying, yeah, Mordecai's a simp. And I'm like, oh, okay. But again, I haven't watched much of any Regular Show. So sorry, Regular Show fans. I heard it's great. It's just I haven't gotten around to it. Another one is Brian from Family Guy. Again, this was one I saw. I'm like, really? I haven't watched very much. I've watched Family Guy Star Wars, and that's pretty much it. I've seen a couple other episodes, but for the most part, I don't know the character. Brian's the dog, right? I don't know. Supposedly he's a simp. That's what people said online, but I don't know who he simps for. Is there another dog he simps for? Don't know. So he's on this list. And then last for the honorable mentions is Gumball from The Amazing World of Gumball. If I'm not mistaken, he simps for this peanut girl. Is that correct? I remember her being shaped like a peanut. All the characters in The Amazing World of Gumball are really weird. So, yeah, the blue cat guy is obsessed with a peanut. Again, I haven't watched enough episodes of Amazing World of Gumball to speak on this, but supposedly that's how it is. Anyway, we are now on to the top 3 simps. So, the number 3 spot goes to Doctor Strange Supreme. Now, this also kind of applies to Doctor Strange, but I'm specifically talking about the variant from the What If show. Now, this guy, right, is obsessed with, what's her face? Whatever, the nurse girl. He's obsessed with her, and she dies in a car accident. And this, in that universe, leads him to become Doctor Strange. So he keeps going back in time, trying to stop that from happening, but he can't because it was like I forget exactly how the episode went. It was like a, stuck point in time, like he couldn't change it. So he tries like hundreds and hundreds of times. Like, literally going back over and over and over again to, like, a ridiculous amount of times. And finally, he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to break the rules of time travel, because apparently there are rules of time travel. Anyway, so he just breaks the rules, and is like, look at that. She's not dead now. Wow, isn't this amazing? And then the world just starts falling apart. Like, literally, like, his whole universe just turns into a black goop. And then, yeah, that's it. That also means that the girl he was simping over also disappears. And he's left in an empty void. So this man literally destroyed his entire universe just because he was trying to get with a girl. Wow, that's quite a simp move. Honestly, I gotta give this guy respect. Dr. Simp, very cool. And the number 2 spot, right, goes to Thanos from the comics specifically. Now, MCU Thanos is very interesting, very deep character. He wants to destroy half the universe to save the other half. Very interesting moral dilemma he's created here in the MCU. However, comics Thanos is literally just like, hey, there's this lady called Lady Death, and I want to get her to like me, and she wants me to kill everyone in the universe, so I'm going to get all the Infinity Stones and do it. And then he kills everyone in the universe. At least that's how I understand it. That's how it was explained to me, is that Doctor Strange not Doctor Strange, Thanos in the comics kills everyone, just to, you know, get Lady Death to like her. I don't know who Lady Death is. That's just what she's called, I think. It might be something else. But yeah, that's quite a simp move. This man destroys everybody in the universe. Deliberately, not like Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange did it kind of on accident. This guy deliberately killed everyone just to be with this god lady. So, whatever, man. Sure, he's a pretty big simp. And number 1 on the list, there's only one character left that it could possibly be, and that's me. I am the best simp. I'm number 1. Obviously, you thought I wasn't going to put myself in the number 1 spot on this? Yeah, I'm the best simp. Really, I think I am. Because, you know, I'm not weird about it. It's not like I stalk Daisy Ridley or anything. It's not like I'm willing to hurt. I'm not going to hurt a bunch of people to get to Daisy Ridley. I wouldn't do that. I just think she's cool. You see, that's how to be the best kind of simp. Just, you know, be nice, alright? I see some really weird stuff online. People post, like, some of the strangest stuff in comment sections, like, God, Daisy Ridley's so cute. I just want to... And then they say all this weird stuff they want to do with Daisy Ridley. I'm like, oh, stop talking like that. That's just disgusting. I don't do that. I just want to make myself clear here. I'm not like that. I just think she's cool. Maybe that doesn't make me a simp. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a regular guy who just thinks Daisy Ridley's cool. But that's just what I am, okay? Does that make me a simp? Probably. I think I am. I mean, but again, simp is just kind of such an ambiguous term at this point. It's been done to death. So I don't even know why I'm still going with the whole simp thing at this point, but whatever. So that's it. That's my top 10 simp list. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.